This happened 3 nights ago. I'm Jessica, 32, and I've recently moved into this apartment for some peace while I work on my graphic design. I thought I could handle living alone. The rain poured down since I got here. At first, it was soothing, just me and my cat, Lucy. But that night changed everything. The first hour was fine. I set up my laptop and got to work. The walls creaked here and there, but I figured it was the building settling. I thought maybe it was just the wind hitting the windows. I didn't think much of it. Then I heard a sound. It was low and rhythmic, like tapping. I assumed it was raindrops, but something felt off. My heart raced a bit, but I grabbed a snack and pushed it aside. As the rain picked up, I flopped onto the couch. Lucy curled up next to me. That tapping noise didn't stop, though. I tried to focus on my work, but unease settled in. It felt like someone was watching me. I shook my head, thinking I was being silly. But Lucy was staring at the wall, her eyes wide and blank. It chilled me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Soon, the tapping changed. It became louder and more erratic, like stuff was being moved around. I couldn't concentrate anymore. My chest felt tight. Time seemed to freeze. The lights flickered like they wanted to go out. I looked around, hoping to see someone. But I was all alone. I gripped my phone, wanting to call someone, anyone. The noise twisted in the air, like whispered voices, but I couldn't catch the words. Was I imagining things? I didn't know what to believe. Time crawled, and I leaned back in frustration. The walls felt like they were closing in on me. Should I get out of here? No, it was my home now. I wanted to feel like I belonged. But as those thoughts raced, my worry deepened. The movement had my hair standing on end. I paced the room, heart pounding, trying to figure it out. Was it just the neighbors? Suddenly, an old newspaper clipping fell from one of the boxes I hadn't unpacked yet. It told the story of a mysterious disappearance in the building. It happened just a few floors down. My breath caught in my throat. My self-assurance evaporated. I looked at Lucy, and she was still watching that wall. Was the noise real? Or was it something I brought with me? I didn't have the answers. I hesitated. Should I knock on my neighbor's door or stay put? I decided to stay, thinking it was just nerves. As I moved back to the couch, I heard another sound behind me. It was a soft tap, then another. My palms went sweaty. What was happening? I turned around slowly, our living room bathed in darkness, except for the glowing screen of my laptop. What I saw made my heart stop. A shadow flitted past the edge of the room. I had to know what was going on. I could barely breathe. I focused on that wall, now filled with an overwhelming sense of dread. I couldn't move. I could only listen, hoping the noise wouldn't return. But it did. I didn't turn away from that wall. I had to know if my eyes were playing tricks on me. Maybe it was a shadow from outside. But nothing moved. The apartment was silent, except for the relentless rain and my anxious heartbeat. I was about to breathe a sigh of relief when, suddenly, Lucy jumped off the couch and bolted toward the door, her fur standing on end. Lucy! I called out, my voice trembling. I followed her into the dim hallway, the tapping noise still echoing in my ears. Lucy darted to the door and scratched at it, her little paws frantic. My stomach twisted. Should I open it? I hesitated, but curiosity pushed me forward. I carefully turned the doorknob and swung the door open. The hallway was empty. Only the sound of rain echoed against the walls. But I thought I heard a whisper just beyond the reach of my hearing. I stepped out, peeking left and right. Nothing was there, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Everything okay? I called out, half expecting a response. But the only reply was the patter of rain. I turned back to look at Lucy, who was still agitated, her fur bristled. That's when I noticed something. A door slightly ajar across the hall. I had seen it a few times before, it belonged to a neighbor I hadn't met yet. A flash of confidence surged through me. Perhaps they knew about the noise. Maybe I wasn't the only one hearing it. I took a hesitant step forward. "Hello?" I called softly, knocking gently on the door. There was no answer. I pushed it open a crack. "Hello?" Inside was dark, and an unpleasant mustiness filled the air. I stepped in further, my heart racing. The place looked untouched, almost like nobody lived there. Dust collected in corners, and old newspapers were scattered about, one of them wedged under the couch. A shiver ran down my spine as I picked it up. It was another clipping, this one about a fire in the building decades ago. Alarm bells went off in my head. The unsettling stories were piling up, and I felt more uneasy than before. I checked my phone, but there was no reception. Not surprising in a place like this, I thought. As I turned to leave, I saw it. A flicker of movement from the corner of my eye. In the reflection of the old mirror hanging on the wall, I glimpsed a figure. I spun around, but the room was empty. My throat tightened, the hairs on my neck prickled. Just a trick of the light, I told myself. Just shadows. Then I heard the tap again, clearer this time, right behind me. I whirled around, panic gripping my chest. The door slammed shut on its own. I rushed back to it, but it wouldn't budge. Someone was in the apartment with me. I felt my pulse quicken and my breath quicken. I was trapped. My mind raced, searching for a way out, but all I could do was wait for whatever was coming. The tapping grew louder, echoing off the walls like a countdown. I had to escape. But how? I couldn't shake the feeling that something was closing in. My heart pounded in my chest as I rattled the doorknob again, desperation creeping in. I didn't know what was behind me, but the tapping was relentless. It was like it had a life of its own. I pressed my ear against the door, listening. I could hear the rain drumming outside, blending with the echoing taps that seemed to draw closer with each passing moment. "Lucy, come here," I whispered, feeling the urge to hold her close. She had been my comfort in this madness, my only connection to sanity. I turned to find her, and dread washed over me. She was gone. "Lucy." I called out louder this time, panic surging. "Where are you?" I quickly glanced around the dark apartment, my heart racing. The living room loomed ominous with its shadows. Each corner felt like it could hide something terrible. She wouldn't just run off, something had to be wrong. I took a deep breath and forced my legs to move. I needed to find her. I stepped deeper into the apartment, the tapping growing stronger as I moved. It felt as if each step I took brought with it a rush of cold air. I searched the kitchen, a place I'd always found comforting, but Lucy was nowhere. I checked under the table and looked behind the curtains, the anxiety clawing at my throat. That's when I heard it again. A soft scratching noise, almost like nails coming from behind the bathroom door. I could feel my stomach drop. I had to see if it was Lucy, but I was terrified of what else it might be. Slowly, I approached the door, my breath hitching in my throat. "Lucy?" I whispered again, my voice trembling. Nothing. Just silence. The scratching continued. I steadied myself and turned the knob just enough to peek inside. The bathroom was shrouded in darkness. I flicked the light switch, but nothing happened, the bulb must have blown. The only illumination came from the faint light filtering in through the small window. I stepped inside, clenching my fists. And there she was. Lucy huddled in the far corner, her fur bristled and eyes wide with fear. I rushed to her, scooping her into my arms. Relief washed over me until my instincts kicked in. I still felt that sense of dread hanging in the air. "What is it, girl?" I murmured, trying to calm her. As I moved, the scratching morphed into a low, almost growling noise. I froze, and my heart lurched. It wasn't Lucy. The noise intensified, reverberating around the small room. My mind raced with questions. Was there something or someone in here with us? I turned slowly, every nerve in my body on high alert. The sound was coming from behind the curtain. I backed away from the window, clutching Lucy tightly. "Stay quiet," I urged her, barely able to keep my own voice steady. I felt trapped, the walls pressing in as the noise grew louder. Then I made a choice. I had to know what it was. I needed to look. With trembling hands, I yanked the curtain aside. The moment I did, I stumbled back. In the dim light, I saw a figure hunched low, eyes glimmering in the dark. I wanted to scream, but the sound caught in my throat. Suddenly, the creature lunged toward me. I barely registered what happened next. My body reacted before my mind could catch up, and I turned to flee. The door to the hallway was still closed, but I had to get out. The tapping was nothing compared to this new threat. I was out of time. I slammed the bathroom door shut and locked it, clutching Lucy against me. Her fur was damp with fear, and I could feel her rapid heartbeat echoing mine. The growling noise outside the door continued, a low rumble that made my skin crawl. I pressed my back against the door, feeling its cool surface against my spine. "Stay quiet," I whispered again, though I wasn't sure if I was reassuring her or myself. I could hear the creature scratching at the door now, clawing at the wood as if trying to find a way in. I had to think, to focus. I needed a plan. There had to be a way to get out. I glanced around desperately, taking in my surroundings. The small bathroom felt like a coffin, boxes of half-finished projects littering the floor. A glimpse of light from the small window reminded me of the storm outside. If I could just make it there. The scratching intensified, and Lucy whimpered softly in my arms. I could feel my breath quickening, panic rising. I needed an escape route. I moved us backward, closer to the window. Rain beat against the glass, the sound almost calming amidst the chaos. As I squinted through the water-streaked pane, I noticed something on the fire escape a few floors down. A ladder a way down. But could I risk opening that door? Would the creature choose that moment to break free? I knew I had to make a choice. I carefully set Lucy down, whispering, "Stay here." She looked up at me with wide, frightened eyes, but I pressed my back against the window, inching toward the door. I grabbed the small towel rack next to me and held it out, ready to defend myself. The scratching stopped. The sudden silence was deafening. My heart raced as I braced myself. Then I heard a soft thud against the door. I wasn't sure what had happened, but my instincts screamed that something was coming. I pulled the door open just a crack, enough to peek out. The hallway was dark, the shadows swirling as the night deepened. I scanned for movement, but the corridor remained still. Then I noticed something: wet footprints on the tile, leading away from the bathroom. They were big, almost too big for a person. My mind raced. Had the creature been here all along? Suddenly, the sound of something skittering echoed from the living room. I pulled back sharply, closing the door faster than I had opened it. I shook my head, trying to clear my thoughts, but it didn't help. I was trapped. A sudden noise from the other side of the door made me jump. Something was scratching again, but this time it was followed by a soft, rasping voice. "Let me in." That voice sent chills racing down my spine. It sounded almost human but wrong, like a nightmare-given voice. Who or what was out there? I took a step back into the bathroom, adrenaline flooding my system. I couldn't stay locked here forever. I had to get to the ladder. With a final look at Lucy, I slowly opened the door to the hallway, my heart in my throat. It was time to confront whatever was waiting outside. The rain continued to pound against the building, merging the sounds of danger into a muddy roar. I took a deep breath and stepped into the unknown. Just as I moved forward, the lights flickered, plunging the hallway into darkness. My stomach dropped further. I wasn't alone. The darkness wrapped around me like a thick blanket. My heart raced, beating so loud it felt like it could wake the dead. The outline of the bathroom door stood like a shadowy guardian behind me, but I knew I couldn't stay there. "Lucy?" I called out, trying to sound calm. I heard a soft whimper in response, but I couldn't see her in the pitch black. With a deep breath, I edged my foot forward, tiptoeing into the hallway. I focused on the sound of the rain, hoping it would drown out my mounting panic. As I stepped further, my foot found something slick on the floor. I nearly slipped, catching myself just in time. My pulse quickened as I knelt down, instinctually feeling with my hands. It was wet blood. The feeling of dread washed over me. The growling from earlier echoed in my mind. I stood, my body tense, and moved toward the living room. The skittering noise returned, and I froze, holding my breath. Whatever was in there, it was close. I crept down the hallway, praying the light from the window would guide me. Each step felt like a mile, and my mind was racing with the possibilities of what lay waiting for me. I regretted not grabbing something for protection. The towel rack felt ridiculous now, an inadequate shield against the unknown. A glimmer of light caught my eye through the partially opened door to the living room. I pushed it open, squinting against the dimness. There was a faint flickering, the room illuminated by the erratic glow of the television, static buzzing ominously. The couch was overturned, cushions strewn about like a battlefield. The room smelled of wet dog and something metallic. "Lucy?" I called again, louder this time, hoping she'd come to me. Then I saw it, a shadow darting across the room. My breath caught in my throat. The movement was too quick, too low to be a human. It scuttled beneath the coffee table, vanishing from view. "Was that you?" I whispered, half terrified it would respond. But silence swallowed my words, and I felt a chill creeping up my spine. Suddenly, the television flickered back on. A face appeared on the screen. It was a news report, the anchor looking grave. "Residents are advised to stay indoors due to reports of wild animals in the area." I felt a sense of dread wash over me. Wild animals? That didn't explain the voice, or the growling, or the blood on the floor. "Stay indoors. Report any sightings," the anchor continued, her voice twisting into a background hum. Then something moved behind me. I spun around, fear gripping my heart. A figure loomed at the edge of the hall, barely illuminated by the TV light. It was tall, its outline distorted, almost human but wrong, as if pieced together from shadows. Before I could react, it stepped forward, and just then, the power went out. Complete darkness engulfed me. I was alone, and whatever that thing was, it was coming for me. I stumbled backward, my hands reaching out for anything to steady myself. The darkness enveloped me, muffling my breathing. I strained my ears, trying to pinpoint the movement. The sound was quick, like claws scraping the wood floor. Fear clawed at my throat. "Lucy?" I choked out again, praying she would answer. No response. Just silence, except for the pounding of raindrops against the windows. I was losing my grip on reality. I took a deep breath and felt my way to the nearest wall. Concrete beneath my fingertips was a reminder I hadn't lost everything yet. I slid along the wall, inching closer to where I believed the living room door was. My mind raced with 1,000 thoughts. What had broken into our apartment? Where was Lucy? I needed light. I remembered the flashlight in the kitchen. Biting down on my fear, I moved slowly toward the doorframe. The air felt charged, prickling against my skin. I hesitated, listening for signs of movement. Then I heard it again, a sound like nails on wood, echoing from the darkened space ahead. My heart stuttered. Whatever was out there, it was hungry. I bolted through the door and headed to the kitchen, my feet quick. I cursed under my breath, trying to stay focused. As I reached the kitchen, I fumbled through the drawers, finally finding the flashlight. I clicked it on, the beam slicing through the darkness. When the light came on, a sense of relief washed over me, but it quickly turned to dread. Panic clawed at my chest as I spun around, the room illuminated just enough to show me the kitchen was a mess. The table was pushed aside, a chair tipped over. I scanned the room, feeling the flashlight tremble in my grip. Then, I saw something on the floor. A wide swath of dark, matted hair. I knelt down, heart pounding. Was it from Lucy? I wanted to scream, but I couldn't afford to make noise. Something inside was telling me I was being watched. I swung the flashlight toward the open hallway. The beam danced on the walls. I could still hear that faint skittering sound in the shadows. I was not alone. With a deep, shaky breath, I edged toward the door leading back to the living room. My curiosity drove me, but fear held me back. What if it was waiting for me? What if it had already found Lucy? I couldn't dwell on that thought. As I reached the doorway, I aimed the flashlight into the living room. The light cut through the darkness, and I froze. The overturned couch was the least alarming sight. That's when I saw it. The figure from earlier, standing too still, too quiet. It was facing the front door, almost as if waiting for something or someone. I felt bile rise in my throat. It wasn't human, that much was clear. Long limbs stretched down to the floor, and where there should have been a face was a distorted shadow, dark and hollow. I took a step back, and the wood creaked beneath me. The figure turned slowly. Its eyes glowed faintly, catching the light just enough to send a jolt of ice through my veins. I needed to get out. Before it saw me. Before it came for me. Just then, the front door slammed open with a loud bang. My heart plummeted as wind howled into the apartment. Who was coming in now? I flinched at the sound of the door crashing against the wall. The figure's head snapped towards the hallway, its dark eyes locking onto the silhouette that darkened the entrance. My breath hitched. I wanted to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. A figure stepped inside, but it wasn't Lucy. Tall and soaked from the rain, a man stood there, shaking water from his hair. His eyes widened when he saw me. "What the hell is going on?" he shouted over the howling winds that rushed in behind him. I didn't have time for questions. I darted past him and into the hallway, the flashlight still in my hand. "Get out! There's something in here!" I yelled, even as a chill raced down my spine, reminding me of the twisted creature lurking in the living room. He blinked at me, disbelief flashing across his face. "What are you talking about?" The skittering sound from before escalated, and I gestured wildly toward the living room. "That! It's in there!" The man followed my gaze, and I saw the moment his bravado faltered. He swallowed hard, glancing back at the dark space. I could see uncertainty in the way his body tensed. Then, he plunged into the living room ahead of me. "Wait!" I hissed, but it was too late. The beam of my flashlight followed him as he entered, illuminating the overturned couch, the mess on the floor and the empty space where the figure had been. "What?" Before I could process what happened, the man turned, his eyes wide with fear. "It won't stay put," he muttered, his voice trembling. "It knows we're here." A sudden silence fell over us, broken only by the pounding rain and the distant rumble of thunder. I checked the hallway behind us, heart hammering. The way we came in felt wrong, shadows shifted uneasily in the corners of the room. "We need to find Lucy," I insisted, fighting the panic rising in my throat. "You have to help me." He shook his head, eyes darting around nervously. "I don't even know what I'm dealing with. You haven't told me anything. I don't have time for this. Come on." I grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the kitchen. "We can look for her together." There is something out in the dark, and I need your help to fight it. As we rushed through the doorway, I caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye. The figure. It had reappeared, moving with eerie fluidity. My stomach twisted. I felt a rush of adrenaline. The man must have noticed because he pushed me ahead of him. Go. We need to get out of here now. The air crackled with energy, and I could hear it again, the skittering noise, closer this time. I flung open the kitchen door, shining the flashlight back toward the living room, but the figure was gone. What do we do? The man stammered, nearly backing into me. I scanned the kitchen, searching desperately for a way out. Then I noticed a window above the sink, partially ajar. We can get out through there. Just as I pulled the window open, a guttural noise echoed from behind us. My heart raced as I turned, the light flickering over the lurking shadows. Get out. Hurry. I shouted, pushing him toward the window. Before he could climb through, something crashed against the wall, tossing furniture aside like they were nothing. I felt a surge of panic. Whatever had come for us wasn't shy anymore. In one swift motion, I jumped through the window, landing on the wet grass outside. I looked back, breathless, just as the man hesitated. Come on. But when I turned back to the apartment, the figure was no longer watching. It was standing between us and the door, and it was looking right at him. The man took a step back, eyes glued to the figure. What is that? He breathed, his voice barely above a whisper. I could sense his fear growing, mixing with the adrenaline coursing through me. We don't have time for questions. I yelled, my pulse racing. We need to get away from it. I glanced around, desperate for options. The air felt thick, the shadows that surrounded us creeping closer. The creature shifted, a low growl rumbling from its throat. I felt a chill run down my spine. It was toying with us. Let us go. I shoved him harder toward the other side of the apartment, a path that would take us around the figure. We needed distance. He hesitated again. What if it follows us? It already knows we're here. We have to move. I pulled him by the wrist toward an old door that led to a back patio. It was covered in peeling paint and looked stiff, but it was our best chance. I yanked it open, and a rush of wind hit us like a wall. Go. I practically threw him through, slamming the door shut behind us. The patio was dark, exposed to the rain but protected from the wind by a half-roof. I could barely see the ground. My heart raced as I scanned the area. Where do you think it went? I don't know, he panted, choking on the rain. Maybe it just a crash echoed from inside the apartment, followed by the unmistakable screech of furniture being ripped apart. I stepped back, fear flooding my senses. We have to find Lucy. Who is Lucy? He looked confused, tightening his grip on my arm. My friend. She was here earlier. She must still be inside. I felt an ache in my chest at the thought of her. We have to check the other way. As we cautiously moved along the patio, I heard something in the shadows. The air stilled, and I felt the weight of the night pressing down on us. A figure emerged near the edge of the patio, but it wasn't the creature this time. Lucy. I called, squinting through the darkness. Out of the shadows stepped a woman, drenched and shaken. Is that you? Her voice trembled, but she looked alive. Lucy. I ran to her, relief flooding through me. What happened? Where were you? There is something in there. I thought I lost it when I hid, but it keeps coming back, she said, eyes darting toward the door. We need to get out of here. Wait. I shot a glance back at the man. He looked as startled to see her as I was. We can't go through the front. It's waiting for us. What do you mean? Lucy demanded. What is going on? Before I could answer, a loud bang sounded from the door we had just closed. It rattled on its hinges, and the creature's growl followed. My heart sank. "Get inside!" I shouted, pushing Lucy toward the other side of the patio. "We have to find another way out. Now!" The man stumbled after us as the door buckled under the force of whatever was trying to get through. My mind raced. We couldn't go back in there, but what other options did we have? Then I caught sight of an overgrown path beyond the patio. It led into the dense trees lining the backyard. "We can go that way." I pointed. "Are you crazy? It could be lurking there too. Better than waiting here to get ripped apart." I threw another glance over my shoulder, heart pounding. "We have to move." With one last look at the door, we dashed toward the path, knowing our pursuer was just a breath away. As we plunged into the darkness, I realized, maybe it wasn't just the creature we had to escape from. There was something heavier lurking in these shadows, and whatever it was hungry. The trees loomed over us as we plunged into their shadows, the rain mixing with the damp earth and creating a slick path. My heart pounded relentlessly, drowning out the sound of the storm. I glanced back, half expecting to see the creature sprinting after us, but all I could hear was the crash of rain and the sound of our hurried breaths. "Where do we go now?" the man asked, his voice quavering. "Just keep moving," I urged. I didn't know where the path led, but staying close to the building felt more dangerous. Besides, I couldn't shake the image of Lucy's terrified expression. "We can't stop until we're far enough away." "Are you sure it's not following us?" Lucy glanced over her shoulder, dread etched on her face. "I don't think so. Not yet." "Are we even going the right way?" the man added, his fear creeping into his words. "I don't know," I snapped. "But we need to find something, anything to defend ourselves." I wished I had grabbed anything before we fled. My hands felt empty and vulnerable. Suddenly, I heard it. A low rustling. My stomach dropped. Whatever was out there was still nearby. "Did you hear that?" Lucy whispered. "Yes," I said, panic lacing my voice. We froze, straining to listen through the rain, the wind howling like a beast. The rustling grew closer. "We need to move, now," I urged, grabbing their arms and pushing them forward. But the darkness felt like a heavy shroud as I squinted into the murky surroundings, searching for any sign of safety. Just as we rounded a bend, my foot snagged on a root. I stumbled and barely caught myself. "Watch where you're stepping," I hissed. "I'm trying," the man protested. But then I felt something cold brushed past me, so close I could sense its presence. I turned just in time to see a figure dart behind a tree. My heart raced faster than ever. "Did you see that?" I gasped, my breath coming faster now. It wasn't just in my head. A shadowy shape had moved. "What?" Lucy's eyes widened. "I don't know," I stammered. "But it's not just that thing from the apartment. We're not alone. There's something more out here." The rustling had turned into a more deliberate sound, something heavy and large breaking branches. I blinked back the terror and pressed onward, faster now, as a sense of urgency took hold. "Look!" The man pointed to a crooked shack nestled between trees, barely visible through the heavy underbrush. "We can hide in there." "No way." I shook my head. "What if it's a trap?" "We have to try," Lucy insisted, glancing fearfully over her shoulder. The creature inside the apartment echoed in my mind, but the sounds behind us were growing distant. I didn't believe they were gone. We had to take our chances. "Okay, but stick close." I rushed toward the shack, fear clawing at my insides like the claws of whatever hunted us. The door hung ajar, creaking softly with every gust of wind. As I pushed it open, darkness enveloped us. I felt a wave of unease wash over me, but I stepped inside. The floorboards creaked beneath my feet, and I could barely make out shapes in the shadows. Something heavy shifted near the back of the room. That's when I saw it, a pair of glowing eyes staring at us from the corner. Fear coursed through my veins as I stumbled back, instinct urging me to retreat. But the sound of the growling behind us reminded me that lurking outside were dangers far worse than what was hiding in that shack. "Stay close," I whispered to Lucy and the man, edging further inside, heart racing. The darkness loomed, but my flashlight flickered on as I clicked it, illuminating the room. Dust danced in the beam, swirling around stale air heavy with decay. The glowing eyes remained fixed on us. Had they always been there, waiting? I couldn't shake the feeling they belonged to something that didn't want to be disturbed. My grip tightened on the flashlight, ready to strike if needed. "Do you see anything?" the man asked, peering into the shadows as if expecting the figure to spring out at us. "They could be trapped," scared I murmured, feeling a pang of guilt for wanting to just escape. Focusing on the eyes, I took a step closer, though every fiber of my being screamed to run. "Wait!" Lucy hissed, pulling at my shirt. I turned to snap at her, but as I did, the shape moved. It wasn't just anyone trapped here, it was a dog, thin and trembling. The eyes were a plaintive yellow, filled with fear as it backed away from us. "Oh," I breathed, feeling an unexpected wave of relief crash over me. "It's just a dog." But the momentary calm shattered as another sound echoed from outside, the familiar skittering. Whatever stalked us was closing in. We had to move fast. I reached for the dog, coaxing it forward. It seemed to understand I meant no harm and cautiously approached, letting me rub its head gently. "It's okay, buddy," I said softly, then turned to Lucy and the man. "We need to find a way out, now." The man nodded, shifting from foot to foot, anxiety radiating off him like heat. "What about the front? It might be the quickest route." "No," I said, shaking my head vigorously. "That's where it is. We have to find another way." I knew we couldn't backtrack to the apartment either. We'd risk whatever was inside taking the chance to gather strength and follow us. I scanned the interior of the shack, and something caught my eye. A window. Small but possibly large enough to squeeze through. "Over here." I pointed, leading the way across the room to the back wall. Lucy crouched near the window, pushing aside the cobwebs. "Can we get out this way?" "I think so," I replied, squeezing through after Lucy called the dog to join us. I could already hear the scratching behind us, that haunting reminder of our imminent peril. Once we were outside, I clambered onto the ground, rain soaking through my clothing. No matter how many times I stumbled, I forced myself onward. My thoughts raced what had followed us. What had we awoken in that apartment? Knowing the back of the property would lead us deeper into darkness, we sprinted toward the tree line again. There was no clear destination, we just needed to get away. As we ran, I glanced back for a fleeting moment. The shack loomed behind us, a forgotten relic cloaked in shadows, as if it held on to its secrets. I shivered, but pressed on, the warmth of adrenaline propelling me onward. "Wait!" Lucy called suddenly, and I skidded to a stop. The sound slicing the rain was different than before. It sounded like voices calling out. Was it real? Or was I finally losing my mind? "I think we're being followed," I whispered, my heart racing. The tension hung heavy, like the air before a storm. The dog growled, ears perked, and for the first time, I could see the impact of the dark night settling over us. The tendrils of fear wrapped around my throat, tightening. "We need to keep moving," the man insisted, anxiety lacing his voice as he took a step back, scanning our surroundings. "I'm serious. Something is watching." He was right. The trees felt alive, swaying in the rain as if they were towering sentinels of something far worse than mere shadows. I could almost feel the darkness pressing against me, crawling up from the earth. Before I could reply, the man took hold of my arm and jerked me forward. "This way." I think there's a clearing up ahead. We dashed through the underbrush, pushed by a primal instinct to survive, and yet, as we moved deeper into the woods, the shadows thickened, and the whispers came again. They were ungraspable, like secrets trapped within the void. I dared a glance back at the path we had come from, half expecting to see that creature barreling toward us, but everything remained still. "Keep going," I urged, feeling Lucy tugging at my sleeve. "Don't stop." As we burst out into a clearing, relief washed over me momentarily. We could see the sky, albeit clouded and thunderous, but the sense of safety faded as realizations began flooding in. "What do we do now?" Lucy panted, panting beside me. "We make a stand," I suggested, but even to my ears, it sounded weak. What could we possibly fight back against? I set the dog down, panting. We had escaped whatever was in that building, but I felt uneasy. The woods held their own mysteries. It might be gone, the man wavered. All I could hear were the echoes of whispers, reverberating through the thicket. This isn't over," I muttered, trying to convince myself. But even as I spoke, something stirred in the darkness lurking beyond the trees, watching us. The air shimmered as storm clouds gathered, charged with energy. My chest tightened as I felt eyes upon us once more. I turned slowly, catching a glimpse of something moving among the shadows. It was just out of reach of the light, something slinking back into the depths. I couldn't tell if it was real or imagined, and the uncertainty stung like fresh rain on my skin. "Let us go." My voice trembled, and we ran, leaving behind the remnants of our fear bleeding into the night. We didn't stop until dawn broke, uncertain if we had escaped the terror or if it had simply begun to follow us anew. I may have left the apartment behind, but as the shadows stretched longer on that sun-kissed morning, I couldn't shake the feeling that my past would always linger, a ghostly presence onto which I could never fully escape.